Inventors Dan Nachbar and Michael Kulmus don't exactly have the easiest time explaining what they do.
Usually the people will say, so what do you do for a living? And I say, I build blimps. And then the next question is, you do what? And I say, I build blimps. You know, talking about it is one thing, seeing it is quite another.
It's big. At 102 feet long and 70 feet tall, their blimp Alberto is hard to miss, even when it's hiding behind a row of trees. For Nachbar, this all started out with a problem.
If you've ever been in a small airplane, the view is great, but the noise is awful.
Solutions he pondered had their drawbacks. Hot air balloons are at the whim of the winds, and an electric airplane would be just too heavy to get off the ground.
So I started thinking, well, what can carry more weight and needs less power? The answer is a blimp.
Their solution, the personal blimp, will give pilots near silent flying with in-air agility, a rarity in powered flight.
At times it's very quiet in here when you fly it, and the motor is so far back that it's just like a little sewing machine running in the back.
Testing starts early. On a foggy field in Amherst, Kulmus, Nachbar, and a small ground crew begin prepping for the day's tests, and Alberto comes to life with the sun. By blowing air into its fabric shell, they begin to inflate the craft. Alberto is different than hot air balloons and helium blimps that hold their shape by pressurizing their insides. Nachbar explains.
So here we are inside the blimp, and you can see a little better the umbrella structure. Here, for instance, I have the struts. They're like the struts on the inside of an umbrella.
Internal motorized winches pull those struts outward, and like an umbrella, the blimp's fabric is stretched with it. And here's another difference. Conventional blimps use helium. Alberto uses hot air, allowing them to build their blimp for about 1/10 the cost of a $2 million helium blimp.
You got the aircraft?
I got the aircraft.
Kulmus sits down in the pilot's seat, blasts the propane burners a couple times, and takes off. Though the craft is capable of flying thousands of feet above the ground, Kulmus finds that staying low is where it's most interesting.
But so this really low to the ground is kind of where you, wow, you know, I can go there and I can go there and I don't have to touch the ground. So I enjoy tree parking. Basically, you put it in the top of a tree and you stay there. In a balloon, you kind of like, well, if it's very calm, you can do that too, but you're not sure which tree you're going to go or where exactly. And it's interesting to just pick a tree, fly to the top, and park on it.
Basically a pass from south to north to my east.
Okay.
However, it's not all fun and games up there.
There are two things that are happening, at least two things that are happening in parallel. One is we're developing the aircraft. The other thing is we're learning how to fly it. I mean, it's not like you can go to school and get lessons in flying a, vectored thrust, fly-by-wire, hot air, quasi-rigid blimp. Right? Just no such thing has existed before. So we have to train ourselves as pilots as well as do the work of the engineering.
Each time the craft goes up, they're testing one of the many changes that they've made to Alberto.
It's evolving. It's constantly evolving. There's not one flight you don't learn anything about it.
This iterative, small-scale design process is what allowed them to go from just an idea to a full-fledged blimp.
If you study the history of airships, you'll see that there are grand schemes that people put forward all the time for giant airships that they're going to build right from scratch, 1,000-foot long. It'll carry 1 million pounds. And real work doesn't get done that way. Real work gets done in these small, iterative design steps, where you solve the little problems, you make it a little better, and each time you sort of progressively get better and better. And then you look back and, by golly, you've got an aircraft that actually works.
With 5 years of development, nearly $500,000 poured into it, countless mornings of waking up before the sun, and years before they'll see their efforts pay off when they begin selling the craft. There's something greater that drives them.
I mean, it is quite joyful to fly the aircraft around, and it's quite beautiful thing to do. But that's really not what drives me along. What drives me is, making a new thing that does new and interesting stuff.
I couldn't tell you exactly what makes me go up. It was just something inherent that I guess all you have to do is look at a bird behind you that's flying around there and makes you think about it.